Welcome to the Be Better broadcast, where we bring you tips and strategies and techniques to help you to live a better life and achieve self-mastery, both personally and professionally. And today we've got something coming at you that's going to help you in both your personal world with your friends, your family, as well as your life professionally and your career with your business, whether you're a solopreneur, entrepreneur, business owner, you're a salesperson in a company, whatever it may be. We're talking about productivity. We're going to talk about how you can create more time. We're going to talk about how you can take time from things that aren't serving you and apply them to areas of your life where you may have been lacking, such as your fitness or such as your relationships or whatever it may be. Time is the one asset that we can't get more of. And we have someone with us today who's very special to my heart. He's a dear friend I've known for several years now, and he is an expert on productivity. He's got quite the story himself. He's going to be sharing his practical tips and strategies. His name is Jordan Beach, and I'm going to introduce you to him in a second, but you know the fee to watching the Be Better broadcast. I'm not going to show you ads. I'm not going to have a sponsor come up just because they're annoying. And the best way, in my opinion, to grow this show is when you find a piece of value from this. Jordan's going to be sharing a lot with you. We're going to have a great conversation. When you take away one piece of value, share this show with one friend who could use it, with one person who wants to be more productive in their own life or business or whatever it may be. Just share the show with one friend. So without further ado, let's talk to Mr. Jordan Beach. And for those who don't know Jordan, Jordan is a friend, entrepreneur, and a lover of wisdom. He graduated college this past spring, congratulations, and founded his company, More Focus, an online coaching business that helps people to be more focused on pursuing their goals and removing the distractions that get in their way. And boy, there are a lot of distractions. Jordan, it is a pleasure to have you here, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Just so you guys have a little bit of backstory here, Jordan and I met actually at a Toastmasters club up in Plattsburgh, New York. And he was still in college at that time. But the one thing that really stuck out about Jordan to me as soon as I met him was he had never been to a Toastmasters meeting before. For those who don't know what Toastmasters is, it's a global public speaking organization where you can practice your speeches, you can get better at leadership speaking, whatever it may be. And Jordan was a guest, and he gave his first speech impromptu, walked right to the front of the room in front of like 15 people and spoke to everybody. And I think everyone here knows that like the number one fear in like the human Rolodex of fears is the fear of public speaking, and Jordan got his ass right up there and started to public speak. So Jordan, one thing I've always noticed about you from the beginning is you are driven, and I always knew you'd do great things, and now you're helping a lot of entrepreneurs to become more productive, to eliminate distractions through your YouTube channel, through your coaching, everything else. So it's a pleasure to have you here, brother. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words.
So let's just jump right into things, man. How are distractions affecting us in today's world?
Uh, I mean, in many ways, I think the biggest is just consuming our attention, and with that, just becoming so overstimulated that it's hard to sit down and do the things that are like meaningful and will help just make progress towards your goals. It's really first it takes your attention away from them, but then just being in that overstimulated, just constant input kind of state just makes it hard to slow down and do like the meaningful, like most important things.
So, okay, so I want to talk about that overstimulated state that a lot of people are in. And let me tell you, dude, I woke up this morning and I am not one to be like, this person should do the same thing that I do, because I used to be that way. I've learned that that's not the best way to be. I won't look at my phone for the first 30 minutes when I wake up because it immediately overstimulates my brain. My wife, on the other hand, will immediately wake up, and while she's in bed, I hope she's not listening right now, but if she is, hey, Brie, hope you're enjoying it so far. She'll immediately look at her phone, and she'll be scrolling through Facebook. And I notice the immediate change in her mood when she wakes up and starts going through her phone. It almost starts her day in a way of looking for the shiny object, right? So talk to me about this overstimulation that a lot of people are experiencing. What exactly does that mean? And I know recently you just did a dopamine detox, that you made a whole like documentary video about your experience with that. So before we talk about that though, what is this overstimulation that we're experiencing?
Yeah, so overstimulation in general is when you receive dopamine without really earning it. And a lot of those things include just like social media. That's a really easy way, video games, anything that is just really kind of an input, intriguing, and the worst is when it's not really earned versus if I mean, I'll share this piece of kind of wisdom. A teacher of mine, Brian Johnson, he always shared, do your creative work before your reactive work. And when you reverse that, you start your day just super stimulated, reacting, and then it's hard to do the creative work because you reach a point where you're just so all these inputs, and then it's almost boring in comparison to slow down and do some creative like writing or I mean any mental challenging task at any level.
What is reactive work? So there's a couple things I want to dive into there, but I'm curious as to what that looks like, the reactive work.
Yeah, I mean, there's a range, but checking email, reacting to emails, like if a bunch of entrepreneurs, they have a social media presence. If they check their social media first thing, having to
Mm.
respond or check, and it's one of those things too. I think there's some value in this too. Avoiding, especially at the beginning of your day, um, avoiding what's the word for it? Avoiding any task or activity where there's no hard stop. There's a endless loop you could go. Like with social media, there's no hard stop. You have to like force yourself to hop off, and it's kind of a dangerous trap to get into, especially starting off your day because the momentum's so huge. I feel like there's such a clear correlation for myself. Like if I like do one of the principles that I try to stick by, like do your creative work before your reactive things. If I
I
hop
love
on
that
social media
quote.
first thing, yeah, it's cause and effect. I really have a hard time later in the afternoon just sitting down and just doing the
Yes.
meaningful things that I value and want to do.
Because your brain is like has as much dopamine as we would have had in like 5 days back in the tribes when
I
we're
know.
walking the Sahara or not the Sahara, maybe they were, but the savannah. They're walking across. The tigers are jumping out. They slay the tiger. They slay the enemy tribes person, and they're like, "I survived. I protected the tribe. I feel good." And they have the natural hit of dopamine. They go out hunting. They find food.
Right.
Now we get the same level of dopamine by looking and seeing that our post got 48 engagements. We're like, oh my God, they love me. They like me. Right. That would have taken like a week to get back in the day. And the thing is, we're so oversensitized by that when something great actually does happen in the real world, the metaverse or the real verse, we should say,
Yeah.
right? We don't feel that same sense of achievement because we've been getting these false hits of dopamine from our devices and from email and from all these things that seem urgent, but they're really not that urgent. What are some ways that this dopamine detox that you did has helped you? If for those listening who are like, what the hell is a dopamine detox? What is it? Why did you want to do it? And what were some of the results you found from that?
Most inputs, and for the majority of those, it's just really tech. Once you remove that, that's the primary source of just a lot of people's input. So, yeah, so that's what it kind of was. And why did I want to do it? I was just curious. It was kind of a challenge idea, and I mean, I loved like survival. Like growing up, I loved all like the survival shows. Like Bear Grylls was a hero, so I thought, why not do like a remote camping trip, no tech, and just see. And some of the benefits was like when I entered it, I felt pretty overstimulated. I knew like I was going to reap benefits from it. But yeah, by the end, I felt just calm, centered, and it provided an awesome opportunity. Like I journal consistently, but I find that I don't really go back and look at the journals and just like some of that slow creative like goal setting, reflecting, and I don't really make time for that during my like day-to-day life. So like during out there, I just brought a couple books and I didn't have anything else to do. I went for a lot of walks and it was just all of a sudden it became fun and engaging to do those things that in a normal day-to-day life it seems not too exciting, not too sexy. So it provided an awesome opportunity to do that. Just yeah, I was just it was funny because when I got back, I went to work and I was driving and I was like, I'm going so fast. Like all these little things seemed just so much more engaging and stimulating. So it was a really neat experience.
You started to notice the things that you weren't seeing before, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember when I first started practicing gratitude. And it's really weird to say like, oh, I practice gratitude, but it really is. Gratitude isn't something you are. Gratitude is something that you do. And I remember after like 6 months of doing it, I started to see all these different things in my environment that I never saw before. I remember I was on a bus back from our training center with like 20 new salespeople that we just trained that day. And we're going back to the hotel and we're crossing this bridge that I've crossed like 100 times doing this for years. And I literally look over the trees and we see the sunset that's there every day. And I'm like, wow, look at the way that the sun is shining through the trees. And everyone just like turned and looked at me and they're like, yeah, they said that happens every day. And I was like, but look at how it's shining through the trees right now. I said, isn't that incredible? And they said, yeah, it's beautiful. But like, are you stoned right now? Like, why are you noticing that? And I'm like thinking to myself, it's a shame that we're not able to see these small things that, when noticed, bring us true joy, bring us true happiness. These things that we're omitting in our mind. Like your brain is deleting out 99% of all sensory information around you at any point because it's focusing on what's important. And we've made it, in a sense, to the point where our phone is the most important thing for us. And I keep bringing this up specifically because it still is to a big extent, right? A weakness in most of our lives. And it's so easy to get stuck in what you mentioned, that endless loop, something that doesn't have a closed loop, which I like how you mentioned that, no hard stop, to the point where we're not truly earning dopamine the way that we used to. So I've never heard someone say like earned dopamine versus false dopamine. So how should we be earning dopamine throughout our days? What are the natural ways that we should be getting this sense of satisfaction or fulfillment, or is it different for everyone? What does that look like?
Yeah, it can range. Kind of a good rule of thumb is like, what would my time look like 500 years ago? Like kind of how you mentioned the sunset, like that was probably a great source of joy and just stimulation for most people. And now, if it's not like a TikTok with music and all these different clips, and that's like, it doesn't catch my attention, like it doesn't keep it. So, I mean, with that, there are a few things though. I feel like just taking control of your time now as an entrepreneur, like having as an entrepreneur, you have full control of it. And there's just so many things vouching for your attention. And it's probably already hard to some degree to just hold your attention to some just diligent work and doing things that aren't like too saucy, but are super important to help move the needle towards your goal, whatever that might be. So a couple things I encourage like clients and just friends, anyone who really is interested in the topic, just being able to focus more. A huge one is planning your day the night before. When I learned
Mm.
that, my mind was blown. And before that, I was just waking up and I was having such a hard time like doing what I wanted to do that day. But the problem was I didn't have much clarity around it. So just the idea of planning your day the night before, even if it's just setting an intention, it helps so much. Just to
Now, how
enter
do
your day
you
with
personally
clarity.
do that? Because I know some people are listening and they've heard that before, but they're like, should I do it in my phone? Should I do it in a journal? Well, how do you personally do it, and how has that affected you so far?
Yeah, I've tried a bunch of variations. I think when I first started, I didn't know there were planners for it, so I just had like a white piece of paper and I just like drew out like how I'd love the day to go, and I tried to follow that to my best abilities. And I varied since because sometimes I would get frustrated if I didn't follow the schedule and I got off track, and I was like, oh, I'll just throw it away. Like so, then I started just trying to set intentions and have some loose time blocks. And since then, I've tried a couple different things. Amazon Basics has a really nice daily planner. And since then, I found just a time blocking planner that's pretty loose. And you can just set your top three priorities, different tasks that you have to do. There's a spot for notes. I can give you the info if you want to put the link somewhere here. I found a lot of value in that.
Value in what specifically? I didn't
That
catch that.
particular planner.
Oh, that Amazon planner.
Yes.
I
Yep.
can't wait until we have a more focused planner that we're linking people to.
I know. I know. I think about that a lot. How would I construct my own? And I
Mm,
feel like it's probably just tailored to like a solo entrepreneur right now. And
yeah.
yeah.
I love that, brother. I love that. You mentioned an idea of time blocking. And I've heard of that I read this book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. He talks about time blocking and it's so incredibly valuable. But a lot of people might hear that and they're like, what's it mean to block time? What does it mean to block time? What's the importance and how do you use that?
Yeah. So if the night before I set like these top three priorities, I'll try to set time blocks for the tasks I wanted to do. So I I think the standard is I don't think the standard is 90 minutes, and you have different variations like the Pomodoro technique, which is 25-minute time block with like a 5-minute break, and how many of those you can stack together. And I know people encourage to like 60 on, 10 off, or if you're doing a 90-minute time block, like a 15-minute break off. and really just structuring it instead of just, I want to do this today. Kind of just focusing on the process of that. What will that look like? Probably I'll need this chunk of time to just designate solely to that task without getting off track. And we could go into detail there about how to not get off track during that time block. But
Mm.
just structuring your day. And honestly, some of the, from what I've learned, the highest performers, even just like 4.5 hours of just quality in-depth work really is all they really strive for. And you can judge a time block off of just your intensity of focus and the time you spent doing it.
Now, how do you go about when you schedule away that 60 minutes or that you use the Pomodoro method when you're blocking your time, right? How do you make it so you don't instinctually just grab for your phone or avoid distraction? Someone comes in, like in the description of this conversation, I literally looked up a stat that said when you are distracted from something, a task, anything that you're focused on, it takes 20 minutes to refocus on that same thing that you were just doing before. So if I'm 15 minutes into hard focused work and Judy walks through the door and says, "Hey, Brandon, how's your weekend?" Like, she's got great intentions. She wants to have a conversation, but now I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes refocusing on something that I've only been working on for 15. So how do you make it so you're not distracted during those times?
Yeah, I try to view it as people who view like trying to eat healthier, like just don't buy the food and don't have it in your house. Like I try to just figure out how to do it with the least amount of willpower necessary. Because if you're going to rely on that, even if there's a 5% chance you get off track, it's going to happen regularly. So with that, I just try to make it so the path of least resistance is doing what I want to do. I'll have my phone either on airplane mode or preferably outside of my room. Um, I'll have like a Google Chrome extension blocking YouTube, like just making it so it's almost It's kind of like the dopamine detox, like making it so that your chance of getting off track is practically zero. And then without having to rely on that willpower, you're just able to focus on your work. And I feel like if you want to do something, just make it so it's almost impossible not to do it. And yeah, that's kind of the approach.
You gotta make it easy, guys. You gotta learn that you really, at the beginning especially, you really can't trust yourself to focus for the 2 hours because you will get off track. You will get in something that doesn't have a hard stop, like an endless Facebook scroll and loop. And by the way, when you're, not to get dark here, but when you're on your deathbed, you're never gonna look back and say, I'm really happy that I spent an extra 30 minutes scrolling through Instagram or Facebook that day. I want you to really think about how you were positively impacted by scrolling through your social media at the end of your day today. I want you to ask yourself, what do I remember from this? What am I happy about scrolling through the social media? I'll cut to the chase. You're not going to find anything. You're going to be like, "Oh my god, that was just a waste of time." Now compound that for an hour each day, and that's being generous, but an hour each day and then an hour the next day, an hour the next day. All of a sudden, you're losing so much of your time, which is the most valuable thing you could possibly have. There are ways to stay focused, but if you left this conversation with simply eliminating these drainers of joy and drainers of productivity, at least during the times that you're trying to stay focused, it would make such a massive positive impact in your life. But you don't need me to tell you that. Give it a shot. Try it out. So, Jordan, I'm curious, how did you get started in this area of productivity? Because there's a lot of different places you could focus on with personal development. Why did you decide to focus your entire business around focus and productivity?
Yeah, I think whoever's listening will find value in this. It kind of started my freshman year of college, and I was so unfocused. Like I was the complete opposite of where I am now. And like my first semester was very stereotypical, just instant gratification, determined pretty much how I spent my time and energy. And then my second semester, the first weekend, I got in a serious snowboarding accident. I got a concussion, and I wasn't able to have a screen. Like my eyes were so sensitive. I was just in a dark room for like a month, and then during that time, it allowed me to just pretty much listen to audiobooks. I couldn't really do much at all. So I listened to audiobooks like Elon Musk's autobiography, just a bunch of successful people. And it kind of just was my first kind of taste of like, just wow, like that person did it. And I kind of know how. And it was just learning and just kind of creating bigger goals and dreams. And after the end of the semester, I began to like be better. Like I could look at screens more, and I found that now I had these like higher aspirations, but I had still had these bad habits of how I managed my time, and it was just such a struggle that it felt like taking control of my time was really hard. To spend it how I wanted to, it was a really big challenge. So I began just spending more time, and it was a slow process because I was not effective or efficient with my time before. So like, oh, I'd force myself to sit down and read a book for like 30 minutes, and that was like a great day. and I'm just slowly building and learning just more positive habits and just know better, do better. It's been a personal mantra of mine. That's been a really key kind of fundamental just idea I hold. But just through learning, trial and error, I eventually got better at it, and it became a skill, and just the passion grew, and now it has the business, and just continue to pursue it.
Isn't it fascinating the lessons that we learn from those hard parts of our life?
Yeah,
Like that one accident, if you didn't have that, we probably wouldn't even be having this conversation right now about productivity. Like, it's only because of that that we're here now talking about this. It's almost like it was a plan, right? Not to delve into the spiritual side of things here, right? That could be a different episode. But I like how you mentioned at the beginning it was difficult, and we jumped right into strategies here and things that you can do immediately. But I know there's people listening who are thinking, like, not that I'm too far gone, but they might be thinking easier said than done to put your phone in airplane mode. Like, my kids are at school. What if something happens? Like, there's a lot of reasons of why it might not work popping up in people's minds right now. So if you could go back to the beginning in your journey, you said you started small, which I think is powerful. If you could go back and do it again, though, knowing what you know now, how would you start this path of productivity and start this path of eliminating distractions for the overall intent of experiencing more joy?
yeah. And I want to add to, like, yeah, being distracted, it's not because you're you, it's because you're human. I mean, it's just that's just a truth right there. But I mean, the short answer there is find a service like what I'm offering now. Like, I feel like when I've been constructing this, I've just been like, myself 3, 4 years ago would have loved this. And I had a really hard time finding one on one coaching. And I got into different programs. They're an online course, and I still couldn't manage my time that well to actually sit down and complete the course, take the notes, review the notes. So, short answer that. But knowing what I know now, just a few fundamentals. Like if you want to do work, don't have your phone right next to you, even if it's for 60 minutes, 30 minutes. Like your morning starts the night before. That took a while. That would just be watching YouTube until like 10, go to bed and wondering why I wake up tired, not feeling it, wanting to stop on YouTube again. Um, just starting my day strong. That was a that took a while to learn. Why is it that when I check social media first thing, it's hard to actually sit down and do the work an hour later? Like, yeah, it's going to be incredibly challenging. So there's a bunch of little things. I feel like if I could just have like 60 minutes with myself now and just just have my younger self take some notes and just try to follow those, because it's going to be trial and error. It's not just going to be like, oh, I have the information now, I can do it. As you said, it's much harder to do than to know. So
And I want to ask you about like what that looks like talking to someone like you for 60 minutes to really get an overview of what someone's life currently looks like. And before we get into that though, I like how you said rather than end your day with YouTube and then you would go to bed and you would wake up wondering why you still felt tired, wanting to go right back to YouTube. It's fascinating how the way that we end our day tends to be a similar way that we start the next day. It's kind of like how people talk about, and a lot of dream experts. I don't even know how you become a dream expert. It sounds pretty cool though. They say that whatever you're thinking about before you go to sleep, you wake up and you're directly impacted emotionally from what you were thinking about before you fell asleep, and your dreams will be that of what you're thinking about. So the fact that if you're on YouTube and you wake up the next morning, you want to go back to it, did you substitute that with the final thing of your day now being you planning your day? Is that how you end each day? Do you do that right before you go to bed?
yeah, I mean, I can just share quickly my evening routine, what it looks like.
Please.
I try to have a digital sunset, just putting tech away, like at least 60 minutes before I go to bed. That's a Brian Johnson idea too. I love it. Like when the sun goes down, all your blue light and stimulation went down like 500 years ago. So now it's a fun play off that. But yeah, I'll shower, and then I'll plan my day, and after that, I'll just lay in bed, read, review my goals, and fall asleep with that headspace. And it's a lot more calming. I feel centered, and I fall asleep way faster than if I was just on my phone or even working on my laptop and then trying to go right to bed. It's like a black and white difference.
It's a big difference, huh? Just taking that last, what is it, last hour of your night and devoting that time to a ritual.
Yeah, and even if it's 30 minutes, but just trying to create a barrier between just input stimulation to closing my eyes, trying to fall asleep. It's really big.
I love that. I'm going to take that myself. That's my number one takeaway, because right now I will end the day with I'll like watch a video or I'll scroll through my social and then I will go right to bed. So I'm not doing the digital sunset at all. And I don't wake up like extremely tired, but I'm also not waking up like jumping out of bed. I get up because my alarm is halfway across the room and I have to get up to go get it. And then I'm already up. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to let you know how that goes for me. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now, I asked you if you could go back and do it over, what would you do different? And you said, well, I would talk to somebody to help guide me through the process rather than try to figure this out yourself. I mean, our lives are already so busy and we have so many ingrained habits and rituals that we might not even be consciously aware of, where if we try to incorporate these things into our life right now, it can be rather difficult to do that, right? Things will come up. Accountability is the name of the game. So when they go to morefocus.com, which by the way, a link is in the description, guys, what does it look like to have a conversation with you to start their journey?
Yeah, it's very personalized. And that's, I think, a key part of the coaching. Like everyone has different things that between their schedule, what they want to pursue, just really learning what their just the game they're playing and how they can play it the best they're able to. So it's very personalized. Like the call number one is just a deep dive, helping them just identify where they can improve and where they want to improve and things they can help remove and just really a big deep dive. And then moving forward is just making iterations on just different things, habits, keeping track of like their 6 week goal. It's a lot of just variation and one-on-one accountability, and it just I found the idea was really cool because I offer meeting once a week or meeting twice a week, and I found that when I did twice a week myself, it was a really great urgency between if I set a goal and I'm going to check in with you in like 3 or 4 days about it. Like there's a bigger fire than if it was once a week or once a month, and then I found myself like, oh, I have some more time. Like it was cool to set some tighter deadlines with accountability and working with someone to help change just your plan and how you're going about doing it so you actually can move towards that result versus just having the result and not focusing on the process that'll help you get you there. So it's very personalized. There's like, yeah, out of all the clients I've worked with so far, there's some few fundamentals that I try to yeah, use, but yeah, very personalized, and I feel like that helps a lot. That and
You know what I
accountability.
also think helps a lot is having somebody who is positive, upbeat, uplifting like yourself, all to myself to have a conversation with, to focus on me, whether it's productivity or anything. Having someone in your corner who's looking out for you, who cares about you. Since having a coach in my life, I got a coach at the beginning of this year and I've been working with him now since. It's my business has exploded. Like it's exploded more in this past year than it has in the 3 years that it's been in existence. So, especially working with someone positive like you, because we don't all have those positive influences in our life. That's super cool. So again, guys, morefocus.com, links in the description. I'm curious, Jordan, if you only had 5 minutes with somebody and you didn't have much time to ask them questions. They just came to you and they said, oh man, I'm just so overloaded with so many things going on. I don't know where to focus on my business. I don't know where to focus on this. What is a quick principle or strategy that you would give to somebody that would make the largest difference if you only had 5 minutes with them?
Yeah, if I had 5 minutes, I just help them clarify the actual goal, like the most important thing for them, and then I would just help them with how they start and end their day. I mean, those are the highest leverage points of your day. They have the biggest influence on your day. So just yeah, help them clarify what exactly they want to put, like yeah, what's most important to them, and then just help them utilize the beginning and endings of their day so that it helps them move towards that number one thing.
I love that. Have clarity on your goal, know what you're doing all of this for, and how are you ending your day and how are you starting your day. Dude, I'm so excited to practice this digital sunset. And I'm going to commit tonight. The last 30 minutes, I'm going to start with 30. I'm not going to look at my phone. I'm just going to put it down there with the alarm and everything. I'm just going to grab a book. I'm going to plan my next day and I'm just going to chill and read and let my mind relax, let my eyes relax. I'm going to let you know how that goes. I absolutely love that.
Awesome.
I'm curious, what's your vision for where you're headed? What positive impact do you want to make on the world?
That's a fun question. I mean, when I view the vision long term, I just love the idea of just learning and creating value and unique value with what I'm learning, and just yeah, striving to create a great positive impact and just growing myself. Like the idea of just like becoming all one can be, actualizing one's potential. I'm very in love with personal development, very passionate about entrepreneurship, and just pursuing that fully.
I love that, brother. It's very clear to see. And I love how you didn't, say, well, in 20 years, I want this, in 30 years. The reality is we don't know, but the one thing we do know is that we can continue growing each day in order to make whatever happens in the future a better reality. Absolutely love that. Where is the best place to connect with you, Jordan? Where can people find you?
Yeah, morefocus.com. And I don't have too many social medias. Instagram, I use Jordan Beach with 2 underscores, and the YouTube channel, which people can find right on the website. So,
Absolutely love it. Well, everyone listening, I hope you got a ton out of this. We got a lot of people watching right now, Jordan, which is super cool, by the way, brother. This is like one of the most watched episodes so far. Like everyone listening, hope you got a ton of value out of this. Christy Farley, it's great to see you. And Jordan, thank you so much for this enlightening conversation. I'm going to take something out of this, and I know everyone else will too. So thank you for your time, brother.
yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
What a breath of fresh air that conversation was. Just how we can be better in our everyday, how we can focus on earning this feeling of progress, earning this feeling of dopamine, and truly doing it in the ways that we would have thousands of years ago, accomplishing goals, making progress towards something, rather than feeding off of dopamine that's created through artificial stimulants like our cell phones and laptops and everything else that's thrown at us, and television and the news and all those things. And what I took out of this mostly is one small tweak in your productivity routine can make a drastic difference in your relationships, your personal life, your business. One small tweak. I'm going to practice the digital sunset. The last 30 minutes, I'm going to take control of that final 30 minutes of my night, because as Jordan said, it's going to change the entire way that your next day begins. So I hope you got a ton out of this. If you got any value out of this episode, please share it with one person who can use this information to make a difference in their own life, but only if you got something out of it. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for sharing the show. Thanks so much for tuning in. And until we talk again next time, continue to be better.